So welcome everybody. Welcome to our March 9th update to the 4-H Alberta community. I am going to start to record this session, so just a couple housekeeping items. I'm Suzanne Stone and I'm joined by Kurt and Sherry, and we will go through this presentation, but I am going to start recording, or actually Kurt started recording the session, and it will be available on our YouTube channel within a few days after it gets loaded, and we'll put it on there so you can share it with who wasn't able to join us tonight. A couple other things is that, like I said, it will be on the YouTube channel, and we will follow the 4-H Alberta Code of Conduct during our session today. So I know it's a group of leaders, but we also start our webinars with remembering why we're all here. So we're following the 4-H Alberta Code of Conduct. If there will be an opportunity for questions at the end of the session, and you can type them in the chat and we'll try to capture them as well. So just be sure that someone else hasn't asked the same question or we answered it. We will try to get to all of them. We will try to stick to the hour with the information and having that opportunity for questions. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Kurt to flip the slide there.
Oh, great. Oops.
Awesome. So we will start off with the 4-H pledge, and then we'll get into an overview, an update from CEO, and then a COVID update and a program and delivery update. And then, like I said, that question and answer period. So if everyone wants to join me in the pledge, and that means leaving your seats. Now, you might see your belly on the screen for a bit, but I want everybody to unmic. It's going to be a little bit noisy and a little bit chaotic, but I know you all know the pledge and I would like to do it all together. So if you can turn your mic on, and I will start the pledge. So I pledge.
My head declares thinking, my heart created loyalty,
my hands love your service, my health better living, my club, my community, country, my world.
and my world.
That's just something fun. These Zoom meetings, they get quite quiet or stale after a while, but if you are leading a meeting with your member, make sure they have an opportunity to have their mics on, and it could be just as simple as doing the pledge all together. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, well, I guess it's my turn. We're gonna do kind of two things today. One's a little more creative, I hope a little bit of fun as well. But first I wanted to thank everyone for continuing to serve our youth and our members during this time. I've said this from the beginning, our members really did need you and still do. And it's so important, and we're so thankful for the level of support you've continued to provide to our membership. We have our first EGM in May, so make sure to look that up and put it in your calendar. We also got some very strong board applications. It is a new process. The nominating committee kind of decided on the best way forward, and then we'll evolve as we grow. But we got some very strong applicants, which will really help us move 4-H and continue to drive forward. Also, we completed an alumni survey. Lindsay, I believe I just saw her name pop up on here, so she is on, but we're gonna dissect those and hear what the responses are so that we can figure out a best way to engage and serve and support our alumni as we continue forward with 4-H. And then again, many of these processes are a first time. 4-H Alberta is a new organization, a merger of all three entities. So we get to dissect everything, kind of pull back the curtain and figure out what's going on. And then we also have a bunch of new processes that we're trying. So the plan will always be to evolve and improve, but at least we're moving forward, which is important. And thank you for your patience as we move forward. Speaking of moving forward, I came up with Suzanne and I were talking and we were like, we hear questions from the community that that we're not sure where they came from or what they're about. So we've decided to kind of take a creative step and have what we're going to call 4-H Mythbusters, which is just kind of a fun approach on the questions that we're getting asked, and rightfully so. Everyone has a right to ask questions, and our job is to kind of, as I said earlier, pull back the curtain and figure out what's really going on. So with that, I'm going to work with Suzanne on here. So we have a bunch of myths that we're gonna talk about. So the first myth, and I'm really throwing it out here because transparency is critical for us to move forward, and we need to move forward. So we need to kind of put it all on the table and figure out our best way forward. So the first myth
is scholarship funding has not been spent on 4-H members.
This was a myth that was very relevant when I started. So what happened was we realized that funds were not being treated or tracked consistently in the past. But we are in the present, we're trying to move forward. So what we did was we brought in an independent accountant who reviewed all the transactions. Every deposit, every withdrawal of all of the scholarship accounts. After that, it gave us the clarity and transparency around the current balances for all of the scholarships. Thankfully, during that review, there was no withdrawals or deposits that went anywhere outside of going to our membership, which was the most important piece. There was nothing like that found. So all of the money did go to the members. The challenge was not necessarily the right amounts were being confirmed. So people thought they might have had a different balance than they actually did. And then they would pay out more money to our members. So thankfully we caught that in time. We reached out to every single scholarship holder that had balances that were not quite in line with what had been previously reported. And we went over every transaction, made sure that we determined that those were accurate. We also provided formal, accurate reports to our 4-H community, which included a new scholarship framework. There's a lot of comments about transparency. So Lindsay worked incredibly hard. She looked at a whole bunch of different scholarship frameworks and came up with what we thought would be the best one to help cover at least a little bit of the support that goes into rolling out all of these scholarships every single year, which is actually quite a bit of work. And then our accountant, we hired a firm-based CFO who is a CFO for many different organizations. We want our bookkeeping to be boring as all get out so we can focus on serving our youth. So she established a monthly reconciliation of every scholarship with the actual bank account balance to make sure that we will never have balances that don't align with our existing account fund. So I would say, although there were some issues around tracking early, I would say based on our investigation that myth is busted.
Awesome.
All right.
Myth
Suzanne.
Myth number 2. And we do appreciate people reaching out to us to ask questions. We talk about that lots, and we want to hear from our 4-H leaders and people invested in us. But myth number 2 is 4-H Alberta is buried in debt.
This is a good one. To be honest, if I uncovered all that right after I hired, I don't know if I want to dig another organization out of that situation because I've been in that place a few times. However, we currently have a balanced, board approved and reviewed budget. So now I'm talking about our planning for this year. To be precise, it's $3,427,836 for 2021. We are also, to ensure that all of our funds are being used correctly, we are asking for people, even if it's on a napkin, just to write down how we're using all of our funds to make sure that we are using our funds to benefit and improve the projects that our members are doing so that we can serve them as best we can. So that is different. We're not just saying you got $6,000, go spend it. We're just quickly checking in. How are you going to spend it? make sure that there's some proof for that. And when we first investigated, we realized that this was needed. And then finally, if we were rolling in debt, we would definitely be using our line of credit. So today I took a screenshot of the current balance on our available line of credit. And here it is from ATB business account, which says that we have $330,000 available, which actually isn't a lot considering the value of the 4-H center. And we have used absolutely none of that. So we are in good standing. And this is so important to say, we got to move past this so we can focus on our members. So I would say this one also is busted. And again, maybe unless I uncover something I haven't uncovered, and I've gone over a lot of stuff if you ask anybody in 4-H, because again, I've been through this before. All right, now the next myth is one that's pretty concerning to me. This is a pretty serious myth, so I just want to make sure that Suzanne reads this correctly and gives me some sources here. Anyways.
Well, I'll give you some history on this. Because COVID was in place when Kurt was hired, we actually never got, well, we did get to see him in person, but it was a little bit. And we seen pictures of him, but we weren't sure if he started out with this myth. So did Kurt lose all his hair after becoming 4-H Alberta's first CEO? Well, maybe. Look at that photo. I can't determine if that's really him or somebody off of Wayne's World.
So again, thank you for bringing this to my attention. Unfortunately, I found a picture. This was back when I got top 40 under 40. So that was 35. That was 4 years ago. And I was still as bald as a cucumber, so it really hasn't changed too much. So I would like to say that that myth also has been busted.
Awesome. The other male on the staff team has the similar haircut too.
Okay.
I think he's here.
Here is myth number 4.
Myth number 4 is around scholarships. So the Hanson-Ness estate is for 4-H members. And the second part of that myth is, that's okay.
There we go.
The sale of the property was a bad decision for our youth.
Okay. I was able to go ice fishing last week with the executor of that estate. Unfortunately, we didn't catch as many fish as we would have liked. I think his luck was better on the next day. So I was able to kind of figure out what was really going on here. First off, this estate is for the benefit of rural farm young people, and it is to benefit them in the form of scholarships. Now, there was land that was owned, but when it was owned, there was around $20,000 a year that was paid out in rent at that going rate at that time. And that brought that money available to our youth, and that was through the property rentals. After the land sale, there's been over $75,000 issued yearly to our youth through the Elmer and Ona Hanson Memorial Fund, as per the will of this estate, from the $3.2 million sitting in an endowment for this estate. So I know, and I have heard there's concerns with the transaction and all sorts of things related to that. However, after looking into it and talking to several of the people that were involved in that process, this has been a really beneficial program for our youth. And I'm hoping based on that, we can continue forward and leverage that to help our youth. Oh, I see. So I'd say, after speaking to the executor of that estate, I would definitely say that this has been busted.
A lot of our 4-H members have received that scholarship though. So they do fit the criteria, which is phenomenal and awesome.
A lot of 4-H members, I've met a lot of them who get a lot of scholarships, even outside of 4-H. Very good candidates for scholarships.
Awesome.
Okay.
Myth number 5, the Alberta government grant is only paying staff salaries.
Okay, so I broke out the calculator on this one. And again, thanks for asking. It's really important. 4-H Alberta has 21 staff. The annual grant, it's a 10-year commitment from the Alberta government, pays out $1 million each year. We have all these reporting requirements. And if you divide 21 staff by that $1 million, that means every single staff would be making an average of $47,619, including benefits. So actually, the truth is that has been confirmed. That is true. Although it doesn't cover all the salaries, that grant is mainly directed, and after talking to all the people in the government, that was mainly directed and for covering the staff load to make sure that our members continue to be supported.
Awesome. We got one confirmed. Myth number 6, where's Sherry? We need her help on this.
This was a good one.
There has been possible sightings of a Sasquatch roaming around the Alberta 4-H Center.
Okay.
This could be true. I don't know where Sherry's at there.
So one of the people will name this, will keep this person anonymous, and also wasn't necessarily willing to share this information with people throughout the community, but took these pictures last winter. Not this winter, but a year before. And if you look on the left, we have quite significantly long-strided, massively large-footed tracks all the way across. If you look on the right, that is an average-sized human being walking in deep snow. So we're not sure. We have other pictures as well. This is all mainly down by the beach. If there is a Sasquatch, you definitely like staying down closer to the water. And there again on the right is human footprints, and then those huge big steps on the left. They're definitely something else. So whether they're a moose or something, we don't know. But I would say, based on that information, we would have to say that this has been neither confirmed nor denied. But I'm hoping as youth get back out to the 4-H center, maybe we can spot one of these guys at some point and really confirm this, or maybe figure out what's making these tracks down there.
Sherry, I'm not sure about you, but I've been called a lot of things, but I've never been called a Sasquatch, and I don't think I have that big of step. And I've seen your feet.
I'm way too short to be called a Sasquatch. I can't make those human tracks.
Awesome.
All right. So we're to our final myth. This one's an interesting one. Suzanne, what's this myth all about?
So this one, it is a strange time for 4-H in Alberta, but we often hear this one, that 4-H Alberta isn't doing anything to help our members during COVID.
Okay, well, we did a few little things early. We definitely shifted to online. For example, we have approximately 40 clubs actively using G Suite, and we provided the training support to try and help them still stay engaged while meeting virtually. And then we saw a little bit of an opportunity just under a month ago when Alberta government went and made a small exemption for a certain group of people to allow them to continue activities during COVID. And before that, we didn't really think there was any opportunity, but when that door opened a crack, Sherry, Suzanne, and Shane, who I'm not sure if he's on here right now, but worked incredibly hard to build a full proposal. And we worked on this for several days, and then we pushed it through our government liaison, who also sits on our board as a non-voting member on our board, but is also on our board. And we pushed it to the Minister of Health and the Minister of Agriculture, who I was able to meet early in my time here with 4-H. And we got, this is directly from the Alberta AHS website, But if you look at the exemption on the bottom here, that gives us a little bit more opportunity to provide a little more support to our youth. 4-H is included in that exemption. So based on that, I think it would be pretty safe to say that that myth has been busted. And with that, I'm going to throw the conversation to Sherry, who has been voluntold as our COVID boss. So she's working a lot on COVID. She's the one that watches every update. Well, actually, most of us watch every update, and then works directly with an AHS representative to see what our best next steps are. And as everyone knows, in the youth industry, if we have one incident and we're not doing it right, it affects the whole organization, which is why the work she's doing is so important right now. Over to you, Sherry.
All right. So I've been called lots of things around COVID. I think that's the first time I've been called the COVID boss. I've been called the COVID queen, and I've been called the COVID squad leader. So I'll take it. I mean, COVID is, we're just progressing forward. So I'm going to go back to February 19th, where 4-H Alberta announced that we got the exemption for youth 18 and under for club level project activities. I'm sure you're all aware of this one. This one was a lot of hard work on a lot of people's parts, including regional chairs and provincial committee chairs and our government liaison, to get 4-H clubs connected during COVID, and the members back working on project activities. So March 1st, we were expecting a few more liberties, and we were hoping that step 2 would be fully open, but only libraries and fitness centers saw changes. Clubs continue to have project activities in the facilities that are available to them. So last night, March 8th, AHS announced further easing of restrictions and have opened community halls for groups limited to 10 or to whatever the capacity of their building is based on fire regulations. This will make it easier for 4-H clubs to find places open and to host their project activities. We still encourage virtual meetings for business related activities. 4-H Alberta is endorsing club activities only at this time, but they are open and running, and I have talked to many clubs that are excited about this news. So as we did with our first exemption, we are working to continuing to work on a way of forward for our market livestock projects to have their shows and sales. We're not sure what it's going to look like, and we're still working on it, but please stay tuned for that announcement as we hear back soon. That's what I got on COVID today.
Thank you, Sherry. Next up is Suzanne. Oh, might have a question here. Oh, never mind. We got it. Yeah. Oh, and again, I want to make something really clear. This exemption is focused on youth only. It is not for any adult meetings or get-togethers, and we still want to really encourage people to meet virtually, even youth, wherever possible. We got to keep our risks low, because if we do have an issue, it can affect everybody. Great question about the limit of 18. Sherry, do you want to answer that one?
Certainly. We qualified for our first exemption under the children's sport and performance exemption. So that's why we were limited to 18 and under. We realize that 19 and 20-year-olds are in the program. You may use those as volunteers and help train the younger members of your club. But right at this point, that's how they need to be used rather than as members.
Okay, thanks for that question, Kent, and keep them coming. If anyone's got them, just type them in and we'll do our best. You're welcome, Kent. Okay, Suzanne is next. Okay, program and delivery.
All right. So some exciting things happening. This is just a snapshot of some of the activities and events that have been going on for members. We just wrapped up our 4 sessions for member development. There was one about environment and healthy living, community engagement, communication, sustainable agriculture, and now I lost the last one. There was 4 of them, and the sustainable ag and food security sessions, those were led by our program coordinator, Madeline Klein, and the uptake or science and technology. Thanks, Maddie. I knew I was missing another one. I scribbled it down, but I couldn't read my writing. They were led by Madeline Klein, our program coordinator, and the response and attendance from our members was phenomenal. The picture on the top left is just one of the screenshots from one of the webinars that they made ice cream in, which was really fun and interactive. There's a Google Classroom set up for each of those leadership development pillars for the members, where they can engage, talk to other members, and upload any activity or event that they were doing. So we just wrapped that up. One thing that has blown our minds is the number of 4-H members who did a phenomenal job in registering in our provincial communications event. We have over 400 4-H members registered in that program. Oh, you're going too fast, Kurt. There 400 members registered in that program, which was a great response. Right now, we have judges reviewing the submissions, and we are striving to select the top 10 in each of those categories. So thank you to all the leaders that encouraged members to continue with their communications activity and join up on the provincial event. So you can go to the next slide, Kurt. There are 2 things on this slide. One is that if you read the March Scoop, you will notice that there is a link to a survey in regards to the record book, the base book, and the inserts that come out. We are looking for member feedback, or leaders or parents can submit as well. We always are striving to improve the record books and provide the best tool for our members. So your suggestions, your feedback are welcome, and we'll guarantee to listen to all of them. We may not be able to implement every suggestion, but we definitely want to hear your feedback on the new books as they were new. We already have 51 responses to that since it came out on the beginning of March. On the right-hand side of the screen is a brand new program. It's called the Trailblazers. It's to discover the entrepreneurial path in our senior members. And this program will be available for senior members to take part in a 6-part webinar series to explore everything to do with becoming an entrepreneur, or to see what skills are required for that. So encourage your senior members to enroll in that program, and that's graciously supported by CPA. Next slide there, Kurt. Summer is coming. We are so excited for summer, and this summer of 2021, we are hiring summer students. That application is open right now, and we are encouraging anyone that has completed a year of post-secondary to apply to be a summer student, who will get to engage with 4-H members across the province in a modified summer program schedule. So you can watch for updates coming very soon. Our programs team are looking at what we can do this summer. It may look a little bit different, but we hope that everyone has some room for 4-H in their summer, and it might be an opportunity to do things with your family or your fellow 4-H families from your community. You can go to the next slide there, Kurt. Awesome. So leader development. This photo is off our YouTube channel, and you'll see each little icon shows that each webinar that we do is uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you do miss it, you can go back and view it at any time. We are encouraging leaders. You will be getting notification from our area coordinator team and Stacy to complete your leader training. So that's the youth safety training, which is available on YouTube as well. And then there's a quiz to follow up, as well as the abuse prevention and duty to report training, also known as Commit to Kids. So those two, we encourage every leader to complete that as soon as possible. And you will also be receiving information about your screening. And if you want to check your screening profile, you can sign on to your profile on the online registration system to check your progress there. We have our last development, our leader development webinar series tomorrow night, and that will be focused on our website and the online system. So hopefully you can join us for that. And on March 17th, there will be another beef learning opportunity for members and leaders that want to join to that. I think I covered it all. Now you can move to the questions there.
Do we have the question and answer opened?
It's just in the chat. So,
Okay.
because we did a meeting instead. So
Okay.
there was, I believe Vincent raised his hand earlier, so I want to make sure that we can get to him. I don't know if that was an oops or if you had a question. So if you do have a question, you can type it in the chat, or you are able to ask it live if you would like, or voice, yes, you could say. It's a quiet group, unless I'm not seeing anything.
I see Carol thinking here. I'm not sure what she's thinking about. Yeah.
So we did cover a lot of ground in our webinar. We hope that we provided definitely some answers to your questions. And those questions have come from those invested in 4-H. So we're hoping that we can spread those answers. Any questions at all? They can be program related, they can be Mythbuster related, or COVID related. I'm sure we could talk about that all night. So there's one question. With that many provincial communication, any timeline we can tell our members to expect anything. So what is happening is this week, judges are looking at the first round of videos. Then top ones from those groups will be selected, and they will move to the second round where top 10 will be selected. And we are striving to have the finalists of our senior members on April the 10th. So they should hear around March 22nd or around that time frame if they have made it to the top 10. The seniors will participate in either a virtual event, and maybe by the time we get there, it might be in person, we'll see. But we will be holding a live event for the senior members, and then juniors and intermediates will be showcased through our social media channels and our website when they are selected. Hopefully that answers your question. So I would say March 22nd, and then the final senior event is April 10th. Sherry, this one's for you. What is the limit of people on outdoor learning activities?
So the limit is not, there is no limit. The problem is optics. We don't want to see a field full of 200 4-H members that aren't properly distanced or wearing masks. So it's more about making sure that you're 2 meters apart when you're outside and that you have masks on so that you're properly physically distanced and you're wearing a mask for safety.
Hi, thanks, Sherry. It's Kent Polowath here. So we would like to do some judging clinics within our club. We have 7 or 8 members with some Cleaver kids involved. So as long as we're, as I understand it, as long as we're 2 meters apart and wearing masks outside, we're okay to be doing that. Correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thanks very much. That'll make the year much more enjoyable for the members if we can get out and actually do something and involve them in their livestock project. So thanks for that.
You're welcome. The weather has been so cooperative too, so.
Yes, for sure.
While we're on the COVID topic, Arlene has a question in the chat. If it is a district project, can members meet outside with physical distancing and masking in place?
At this time, 4-H Alberta can only endorse club activities, club project activities. So we're looking to see what happens when on the 22nd, when we look further into what could open up. But right now we're not looking at district activities at all.
All right. Laura Lee asked a question about communication, so I'll jump on now. And will members get judges' feedback for submitted communication? Every member will receive a comment on their communication through the Google Classroom. And as they progress, they will also receive another comment from the next round of judging. Where will Provincial Communications Top 10 be announced? Facebook, email directly to the members. We're hoping that they would be in the scoop on our website, and then we also want to showcase those awesome submissions of the top 10. So we will have that on our YouTube channel for people to watch. And the members that are the top 10 will receive communication, most likely a phone call and a follow-up email on that too. Oh, great question, Amanda. Any word on selections? So we didn't actually cover selections, so it's a really good question. Right now, we're kind of in that funky area that all activities that involve travel, so whether it's a 4-H Canada program or a 4-H opportunity that is normally won from selections across the border, those have all, 4-H Canada trips have all been suspended for the 2021 year, as well as a lot of 4-H conferences in the US. They are offering them virtually, and we are working on an modified selections program where we can select ambassadors and provide opportunity for members to attend those virtual events. So that should come out very soon. You're welcome.
Okay, while we wait for questions, I think it's important to recognize our sponsors. Just so you know, at a high level, our sponsors are very engaged, and because of that, there's a likelihood we will have more sponsors support this year than we have in previous years. We'll see how the year plays out. Bianca's done an excellent job with her sponsors. I've met almost all of them, and I kind of see them as a key part of us moving forward as an organization as well, because when you research the roots of 4-H, injecting cutting edge work and research into the community through our youth is actually the roots of a lot of 4-H. So if we can find a way to work with our sponsors to kind of lighten that burden, but also inject cutting edge things into our programs, we can add a lot of value to our members without it costing us a lot. And in many cases, they're providing a lot more support. So on that note, our biggest sponsor by all means is the Alberta government. They sponsor us for over $1 million a year. We have to do a report at the end of every cycle on that, and we're just in the middle of doing that for this year. So they have a 10-year commitment, and we kind of have plans to make sure that we have a plan after 10 years if anything were to happen to this funding. And then we also have our other sponsors, Alberta Recycling, AltaLink, ATB, Calgary Stampede, and UFA. And then our Gold Clover sponsors. And our Silver and Bronze Clover sponsors. And it's just important to recognize the value that they're providing into our community. Any other questions?
There is another one in the chat. Any word on the Synergy program in Olds? And then comment that the Synergy, there's dates on the Synergy website. So I can't comment on Summer Synergy as a whole, but I can comment on the Provincial Beef Heifer Show and the Provincial Sheep Show. We are looking into the options if we can hold that, which happens the same time as Summer Synergy. It may look different, and time will only tell if we can take our cattle and our sheep to Olds during that week. So there are dates in place. Yes, there are in the beginning of July. So you can check that out. But as we know, everything changes rapidly. And to have that many people in a building for a long period of time is challenging right now. So they will update on their Summer Synergy show, and we are working with the back and the shack committees to create options for our 4-H members for the Provincial Beef Heifer Show and the Sheep Show. Yes, Arlene is on that Sheep Show committee, and she says the dates are the 13th to the 16th, so stay tuned on what that will look like. Thanks, Arlene. A question there, Sherry, I think it's COVID related. So as long as we are outside, we can take members on field trips. Example, heifer members to see how AI is done at a feedlot type place, as long as parents drive them.
Yeah, parents need to be driving them, and you need to be wearing masks at all times and keep your physical distance always. But that looks like one that I could certainly approve. Yes.
Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you very much for joining us. We will be posting this recording on our site for anybody. And as always, reach out to any one of us at any time. We're all here available to try and help as best we can. And I hope you all have a great night.